Alright, what's up guys, so this is the Horrifying Night's Crime Show, and I'm not feeling good at all. I think it is either chest cold or the flu, so I'll try and finish this quickly. So if this is not 10 minutes, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from investigation to the trial. Alright, so the Tate murders became national news on August 9, 1969. The Polanski's housekeeper, Winifred Chapman, had arrived for work that morning and discovered the murder scene. On August 10th, detectives of the L.A. County Sheriff's Department, which had jurisdiction in the Hinman case, informed LAPD. Detectives assigned to the Tate case of the bloody writing on the Hinman house, thinking the Tate murders were a coincidence of a drug transaction. The Tate team ignored this and the crime's other similarities. The Tate autopsies were underway and the LeBlanca bodies were yet to be discovered. Stephen Parent, the shooting victim in the Tate driveway, was determined to have been an acquaintance of William Garretson, who lived in the guest house. Garretson was a young man hired by Rudy Altobelli to take care of the property while Altobelli was away. As the killers arrived, Parent had been leaving Cella Drive for a visit to Garretson. Held briefly as a Tate suspect, Garretson told police he had neither seen nor heard anything on the murder night. He was released on August 11, 1969, after undergoing a polygraph examination that indicated that he had not been involved in the crimes. Interviewed decades later, he stated he had in fact witnessed a portion of the murders, as the examination suggested Garretson died in August 2016. The LeBlanca crime scene was discovered at about 10:30 p.m. on August 10th. Approximately 19 hours after murders were committed. 15-year-old Frank Struthers, Rosemary's son from prior marriage, Leno's stepson, returned from a camping trip and was disturbed by seeing all of the window shades of his home drawn and by the fact that his stepfather's speedboat was still attached to the family car, which was parked in the driveway. He called his older sister and her boyfriend, Joe Dorgan, accompanied the younger Struthers in the home and discovered Leno's body. Rosemary's body was found by investigating police officers. On August 12, 1969, the LAPD told the press it had ruled out any connection between the Tate and LeBlanc homicides. On August 16th, the sheriff's office raided Spawn Ranch and arrested Manson and 25 others as, quote, suspects in a major auto theft ring, end quote, that had been stealing Volkswagen Beetles and converting them into dune buggies. Weapons were seized, but because the warrant had been misdated, the group was released a few days later. In a report at the end of August, when virtually all leads had gone nowhere, the LeBlanca detectives noted a possible connection between the bloody writings at the LeBlanca house and, quote, the singing group The Beatles' most recent album, end quote. Breakthrough. Still working separately from the Tate team, the LeBlanca team checked with the sheriff's office in mid-October about possible similar crimes. They learned of the Hinman case. They also learned that the Hinman detectives had spoken with Bersaletti's girlfriend, Kitty Lutzinger. She had been arrested a few days earlier with members of, quote, the Manson family, end quote. The arrest for car thefts had been taking place at the desert ranches to which the family had moved and where, unknown to authorities, its members had been searching Death Valley for a hole in the ground, access to the bottomless pit. A joint force of National Park Service rangers and officers from the California High Patrol and the Inyo County Sheriff's Office, federal, state, and county personnel had raided both Myers Ranch and Barker Ranch after following clues of when Lee left Gwen Manson, when family members burned an earth mover owned by Death Valley National Monument. The raiders had found stolen dune buggies and other vehicles and arrested 24 people, including Manson. A highway patrol officer found Manson hiding in a cabinet beneath Barker's bathroom sink. The officers had no idea the people they were arresting were involved with the murders. Following up leads, a month after they had spoken with the lead singer, La Blanca, detectives contacted members of a motorcycle gang Manson tried to enlist as his bodyguards while the family was at Spawn Ranch. While the gang members were providing information that suggested a link between Manson and the murders, a dormitory mate of Susan Atkins informed LAPD of the family's involvement in the crimes. Atkins was booked for the Hinman murder after she told sheriff's detectives that she had been involved in it. Transferred to Sinbill Brand Institute Detention Center in Monterey Park, California. She had begun talking to bunkmates Ronnie Howard and Virginia Graham, to whom she gave accounts of the events in which she had been involved. Apprehension. On December 1st, 1969, acting on the information from these sources, LAPD announced warrants for the arrest of Watson, Krenwinkel, and Kasabian. In the Tate case, the suspects involved in the LeBlanc murders were noted. Manson and Atkins, already in custody, were not mentioned. The connections between the LeBlanc case and Van Houten, who had also among those arrested near Death Valley, had not yet been recognized. Watson and Krenwinkel were already under arrest, with authorities in McKinley, Texas, and Mobile, Alabama, having picked them up on notice from LAPD. Informed that a warrant was out for her arrest, Kasabian voluntarily surrendered to authorities in Concord, New Hampshire on December 2nd. Before long, physical evidence such as Krenwinkel's and Watson's fingerprints, which had been collected by LAPD at Cello Drive, was augmented by evidence recovered by the public. On September 1st, 1969, a distinctive .22 caliber high standard quote buntline special end quote revolver Watson used on Parent, Sebring, and Rakowski had been found and given to the police by Stephen Weiss, a 10-year-old who lived near the Tate residence. In mid-December, when the LA Times published a crime account based on information Susan Atkins had given her attorney, Weiss's father made several phone calls which finally prompted LAPD to locate the gun in its evidence file and connect it with the murders via ballistics tests. Acting on the same newspaper account, a local ABC TV crew quickly located and recovered the bloody clothing discarded by the Tate killers. The knives discarded en route from the Tate residence were never recovered, despite a search by some of the same crewmen and months later by LAPD. The knife found behind the cushion of a chair in the Tate living room was apparently that of Susan Atkins, who lost her knife in the course of the attack. Alright, the trial was not that long, so I'll just do that. So, the People versus Charles Manson. The trial began June 15, 1970. The prosecution's main witness was Kasabian, who, along with Manson, Atkins, and Krenwinkel, had been charged with 7 counts of murder and 1 of conspiracy. Since Kasabian, by all accounts, had not participated in killing, she had granted immunity in exchange for testimony that detailed the nights of the crimes. Originally, a deal had been made with Atkins in which the prosecution agreed not to seek the death penalty against her in exchange for her grand jury testimony, on which the indictments were secured. Once Atkins refuted the testimony, the deal was withdrawn. Because Van Houten had participated only in the LeBlanc killing, she was charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 of conspiracy. Originally, Judge William Keeney had reluctantly granted Manson permission to act to him as his own attorney because of Manson's conduct, including violations of a gag order and submission of, quote, outlandish, end quote, and, quote, nonsensical, end quote, pre-trial motions. Permission was withdrawn before the trial start. Manson filed an affidavit of prejudice against Keene, who was replaced by Judge Charles H. Older. On Friday, July 24th, the first day of testimony, Manson appeared in court with an X card on his forehead. He issued a statement that he was, quote, considered inadequate and incompetent to speak or defend himself, end quote, and had, quote, X'd himself from the establishment's world, end quote. Over the following weekend, the female defendants duplicated the mark on their own foreheads, as did most family members within another day or so. Years later, Manson carved the X into a swastika. See quote, remaining in view, end quote, below. The prosecution argued that triggering of, quote, helter-skelter, end quote, was Manson's main motive. The crimes scenes, bloody white album references, pig rise, helter-skelter, were correlated with testimony about Manson predictions that murders black people would commit at the outset of Helter Skelter would involve the writings of, quote, pigs, end quote, on the walls of victims' blood. Testimony that Manson had said, quote, now is the time for Helter Skelter, end quote, was supplemented with Kasabian's testimony that on the night of LeBlanc murders, Manson considered describing Rosemary LeBlanca's wallet on the street of a black neighborhood. Having obtained the wallet in the LeBlanca house, he, quote, wanted a black person to pick it up and use the credit card so that the people, the establishment, would think it was some sort of an organized group that killed these people. And on his direction, Kasabian had hidden it in the woman's restroom of a service station near a black area. Well, I want to show... Okay, I'm not going to say that. How to do it, end quote. Manson had said as the family members drove away after leaving the LeBlanca house. And that is it. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.